In 3, 2.
Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred Ng.
Apple held its big event yesterday, and well, it's a bit of a letdown. Everyone was expecting a cheaper iPad, yet the price remained the same at $329. Now, the education discount did get a little bit cheaper. It's now $299 instead of $309, but that's only a $10 difference.
Yeah, you're going to have a big event for something like $10 difference?
Right.
Okay.
So everyone was expecting that. I mean, the big announcement was that this new iPad that's not cheaper now supports the pencil stylus, which had been a feature really for the iPad Pro line. They talked a lot about all the education apps, different services and programs that teachers will be able to use. But what do you guys think? For the general market, do you care?
So the big update for this one is that one, it has a much more powerful chip.
Right.
And that it's now compatible with the Apple Pencil. That was their whole reason why they did it in the school and all this stuff. But the thing is that pencil costs an extra $100.
Yep.
So it really does not help in their case of, we're trying to get back into schools, because the big reason why they've turned away from them is because it's so expensive.
Right. And a Chromebook you can get one for like $200, $250. So the fact that this is still $300 for schools plus the $100 pencil, and there is no keyboard attachment for this. So those are real stumbling blocks for Apple if it wants to get back into schools.
I also got an email from one Apple customer that bought the 2017 model of this $329 iPad. And he asked me, hey, is this now going to have pencil support? Because it sounded like he was more than willing to pay, the $100 to get a pencil. And I had to tell him, no, it's not going to, reverse, or they're not going to start to provide. It's not. So unfortunately for folks, and this does happen with Apple sometimes, is that you're just going to have to buy an all new device if you want these additional services or these additional capabilities.
Right. So, okay, next up, we've got Facebook revamping its privacy settings, suspicious timing. Obviously, this is in the wake of the Cambridge Analytica scandal. The new settings, which are found in the mobile app, allow you to better manage your data and who you're sharing it to. But Alfred, you checked this out, right?
I used it this morning.
Are you private? Are you more private now? Are you more secure?
Well, to be fair, I was already really private on Facebook, but
Right.
the settings on there aren't really that extreme on it. I mean, you're much more able to manage who sees your post and manage the apps that you use. But you can only do it through the mobile app. That's where they made it easier. That's where they fixed all these features.
To be clear, you can manage these settings on the desktop version, the browser version, but it's the same old interface, right?
Yeah. They didn't really change it there, but it had been there for a while too. But this is they just made it easier to access. These aren't exactly new settings from Facebook.
And I tried it out too, and I noticed in the settings menu you had to scroll through a long list of items before you even got to this privacy shortcut. If it was really a priority, they probably should have put it right at the top of your settings menu.
They've made these types of announcements before, and it's still a completely Byzantine and confusing privacy settings situation. So I don't think that fixes it that well.
All right, lastly, we already know the Chromebook is a hit in schools. It's why Apple made such a big deal with the iPad yesterday. But did you know it was also a hit? It is a hit with security experts too.
Yeah, so I had been noticing a lot of Chromebooks anytime I went to a security conference. Granted, I've only been to 3 of them. But
that's 3 more than me.
I had always expected this kind of tricked out laptop with these crazy VPN settings and things like that, or two-factor authentication keys for their USB. But no, it's just a simple Chromebook. And the big reason why is because they're so cheap. They're pretty much like burner laptops at this point, and it's built in with all these really useful and easy security settings that you don't have to set anything up. It's extremely secure by default.
There you go. It's all about simplicity, really, when you want security to be effective. For more of these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Alfred Ng.
Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks, everybody. That's a wrap on the recording of the audio podcast. I'm going to go ahead and start fishing through the old chat, see if we got any good comments and questions to keep the conversation going. Alfred, I loved your comment. A burner laptop. Is that's really a thing?
That's an interesting concept.
Makes sense.
It actually is, yeah. There's a quote in my story where he talks about a security researcher, Ken White, who mentions, I always carry this when I travel for a conference or something like that, because if I get malware on my personal $2,000 laptop, or something, I'm gonna be like freaking out. But if it's on like $150 like Chromebook, I don't really like
Right.
care about it that much.
And you don't have any of your sensitive data or information
Mm-hmm.
on there. I mean, you could basically, you're willing to lose that laptop
Yeah.
if you're at one of these conferences.
I actually bring a Chromebook every time I go to these
right.
conferences.
And
now.
you wipe it,
Yeah.
it before and after, right?
Yeah, so it has this feature called power washing, which so if you want to change like your Windows like laptop back to like default settings, like
Yeah.
you usually have to have like the copy of like the Windows
Yeah,
like,
it's
OS. and
it's
stuff.
rather difficult.
It's like a real pain in the ass.
Right.
So with Chromebook, you can just go into like your settings, and it's like right there, like power wash, and it sets like everything back to like
Does it actually
factory.
say power wash, or is it like?
Yeah, it
Oh,
says
really?
power
It's
wash
very
on it. Yeah.
googly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
So I always do that before I go to a conference, and like when I after
soon as
I
you get
leave
back.
one, yeah,
Got it.
just to make sure like there's nothing like on it when I return it.
Right.
I know we were kind of making light of Apple, or at least basically saying that it was a bit of a letdown yesterday with Apple's event. But just as like a side note, or a to be sure to that, I think that it was definitely important, and for a long run situation, it was good that they did do an education event. Maybe it wasn't nearly as much as it could have been, but at the same time, I think that they're targeting the right area.
I mean, I think it's going to be a big challenge for Apple to get back in schools. This is an area they had dominated a couple of years ago, but they had that big pilot program with the LAUSD, Los Angeles Unified School District, in which they wanted to buy iPads for every single student. That turned out to be a colossal failure. Kids had broken the security features to kind of use the iPads the way they wanted, like load up their own games. iPads were stolen. The curriculums didn't. It just didn't
It was
work.
also really expensive.
It was really
yeah.
right. Plus, it was really expensive. In fact, LAUSD ended up getting a settlement from Apple back because the program was such a failure. I just don't know if adding more apps and adding more features and tools for teachers, which are all great, is going to solve the problem that these things are crazy expensive. And it was just disappointing, even if they didn't lower the price for consumers, if they had increased the education discount, made it cheaper for schools to buy them or students to buy them. Or threw in the pencil for free, because they made such a big deal of how useful the pencil was for their homework, right? So why not have like a bigger incentive for getting schools and students to actually use these things?
Directed specifically to that, Logitech did come out with the Crayon, which is $49 instead of $99,
Right.
and I think it's only education specific, so consumers aren't actually allowed to buy that. So
yeah.
I realize that $50 is not zero, but at the same time, I'm looking at it from the perspective that Apple had a lot of failures and screw ups in
Right.
the education market, but I think they clearly identified the fact. I think Alfred had this in his story, that businesses and the education market are an area where they could actually increase iPad sales. So they're targeting that, and maybe it's not going to be perfect this year. Maybe it's not all going to work. Maybe it's still expensive, but they're not giving up on it. And I think that is something to pay attention to.
No, for sure. I think again, one of the beyond the challenges of price, and it's still like that's $350 versus a $250 Chromebook. There was a research note, I forget from who, that was issued last night. Basically looked at how younger students, like grade school or below, iPads are really effective because it's more visual, it's all touchscreen. But when you get to older kids, you need to have a keyboard. Right, that's where the lack of a keyboard.
You can't do like a book report.
Yeah, exactly. You can't
on an
write a
iPad.
report on your iPad because, well, one, there's no keyboard accessory for that iPad. I mean, if you could do a Bluetooth connection, but there isn't one like the iPad Pro, right? And so I think with the Chromebook, you get that full package with a keyboard that makes such a big difference for older students.
You know what they should do is come out with a cheaper, like dirt cheap MacBook Air, $200 for education.
That's not gonna happen. I mean,
of course
Apple?
not.
look, there are persistent rumors that Apple is going to come out with a cheaper MacBook Air.
Oh my God! Do
Maybe
not
it's
hold
okay.
your breath.
Yeah, I mean, that would make a lot of sense. I mean, if they're really serious about the education market. Problem is, cheaper for Apple for a MacBook Air would be what, like
$700, $800.
I was gonna say $800.
Not only that, but like let's caveat that rumor about an upgraded MacBook Air has existed for
A long
4
time.
Yeah,
years.
they
Oh,
made
yeah.
their AirPods $150. You think they're gonna sell a whole laptop? For
No,
$200?
of course not. No, I was throwing it out there as point of complete ridiculousness.
Let's go ahead and jump into the chat. We'll start right off with one from Matthew Datcher. For someone who purchased a 2017 low-price iPad, is there any reason I'm going to want this one?
No.
The pencil.
No.
The pencil, but like that's what stinks about being an Apple customer.
But
Sometimes
you're not gonna buy a new iPad for just the pencil.
No.
That's
Oh my
like,
God.
unless you really like using a stylus, which I don't know. I don't really care about that.
My favorite part while covering this was so earlier they had mentioned this is our most affordable iPad yet. I was like, oh, okay, so cool. There's going to be a discount. And starting at $329, like that's the exact same price as
Well,
the current cheap.
he's not lying. It is
technically
still
true.
the most
And
affordable.
yeah, and then I'm like,
it is still the most
well,
affordable.
it is still
iPad.
the most
Yeah.
affordable one.
You know what? At least Amazon, when they say that this is the cheapest the Echo Dot has ever been, they at least are reasonable enough to drop the price by a penny or two. Because that's what they do usually during the holidays. Apple didn't even bother doing that.
I would just want to take a minute to shout out and appreciate Michael Brown, who is extremely passionate about this project. I'm with you, Michael. He's talking about things like underpaid teachers, under-equipped students, and how Apple is only taking advantage of this to lock further generations into their ecosystem. And I 100% agree with that.
I mean, that is another issue. Is if you're going all in on iPads, you're going all in on the Apple ecosystem, right? With the Chromebook or with Windows, I mean, they are a little bit more open. Maybe not Chromebooks, but Windows definitely more open. You have your choice between different vendors in terms of programs or whatever. With Apple, you kind of have to like work with Apple and whoever works with Apple, whoever partners with Apple, like with Pearson, right? So.
Beats Music Class, brought to you by Beats.
Yeah, we've we're hearing all this stuff like the teacher from Arizona who disclosed her like meager paycheck was like I can't make a living on this. There's all these issues about teacher pay. There are teachers who are striking because of that, and then on the other side of the equation, you've got Apple charging whatever $300
Right,
bucks
which
per iPad.
means that it might work better for private schools potentially, but at the same time, after all those problems that you had previously mentioned, it's pretty clear that Apple has a pretty high mountain to climb if they are hoping to beat out Chromebooks.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to these stories that are going to crop up around suddenly iPads go missing, teacher buys new car.
I mean, that happened at LUSD. Theft was a big issue with their iPad program. I don't think it was with teachers.
Who's gonna
It
buy
was
a
probably
new
with
car with
students.
$320?
I'm saying though, like
No, but
liquidate
yeah,
steal
an
enough
entire
iPads.
classroom's worth of iPads could probably get you a car.
Well, the good news too is Chara had this in her story, and this is interesting. Is that Chromebooks have hardly any resale value, whereas the iPads do.
Yes.
So that is at least one benefit, that if you do spend $329 on an iPad,
Someone can steal it. and
Somebody
sell
can
it.
steal it. You're at least going to get some of that money back, even if it's 3 or 4 years old. Whereas with a Chromebook, as you said before, you buy it for $150. That's it.
Yeah,
You're not getting anything
there's no
back
resale
from that.
value for that.
Yeah, I just don't think that Apple really has a competitive leg to stand on in this one. Going on, more from Michael Brown. Packages for $500. Why didn't Apple just start bundling it all together with the keyboard and pencil and put that all in the same box for
I
the
mean, they
students?
probably
Simplify
do for
it.
schools.
We don't know that yet, though.
But this was at a school, and that was a perfect place.
Yeah.
It was a perfect
Yeah,
setting for
they
them
didn't
to say
mention
that.
anything about a bundle. It was just, it's still on the site. It's like get the separate pencil. It's $99.
But it seems like such a no-brainer of
Right.
all the things that come out of this. Like that should be the doy.
right.
I feel like there'd be much less criticism about like this iPad unveil if it were not done like in a school related thing. Like if they had just done like a normal like Apple event where it's like
A normal meh.
we've got a new iPad.
I disagree. I think that, frankly, this should have been a press release. Like I don't.
Yeah.
If they held a separate, just random event for like, here's a new iPad. It's essentially the same thing except for pencil support. We'd be like, why are we all
Yeah.
here? Why did we all fly out here? And so the school thing at least gives us some extra
But I think the school,
relevance.
I think the school thing gave it a lot more hype with the idea of like, oh, it's gonna be cheaper. 'Cause
Right,
it's
right,
schools,
right.
and that's like their biggest like issue of like getting like into schools. Like they're too expensive.
right.
And then like for them to not like really talk about that.
I mean,
at
I think
all.
from their perspective, they held into school because they wanted to make a bigger deal.
Yeah.
They wanted to remind people about the value of this thing in the classroom setting. And look, I don't dispute the fact that those tools and all that stuff, that all looked awesome. And that was, for a student, that's great. It's just, I don't know if schools can afford that. iPads for everyone.
And I love that there was this one point where they were saying like, oh, we can help you save money on field trips. You don't need to go on field trips anymore. Check out this AR gallery that
That's
Yeah.
the best part of school.
I know,
Why would
right?
you
Like
do
if
that
you're
to
a
those
kid, you're
children?
just sort of like, wait, what? So I can't ever leave school now?
That reminds me, Ackerman was saying on the live broadcast yesterday that kids could telecommute into class if they're sick at home. And I'm like, that is the worst
No.
idea ever.
Like as a parent, you're like, that's not gonna happen. That doesn't work.
Stay home and watch Price is Right.
And
That's
here's the
what you do
cherry
on
on
a sick day.
Yes, Price is Right, absolutely. Not just hawking for CBS. I love Price is Right.
Oh, wait a
way
minute. Was
before.
that, did I accidentally just do Synergy?
Is that on
did.
Netflix?
You did, but let's be honest. Price is Right supersedes any kind of network. That could be a network
right.
in itself.
That could be, yeah, that is kind of, it's
its own thing.
You can't really, yeah, I don't identify with the network. It's just like, it's the morning show you watch when you're sick.
I remember when they were gonna unveil the new iPad, I like wanted to quickly make a meme about like what the price is, like what
Come
people
on
like guessing what the
down.
price is for that thing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Turns out it's the exact same price, everybody.
$1. $1.
Undercut that. And the cherry on top of all of this is not only are we going to lose all the best parts of school from field trips to sick days, they're going to say, no more recess. You got apps to play now.
Yeah, they
There
got
you go.
AR Playground.
I feel like kids would
Gross.
be fine with that, though.
Yeah, I know. I think kids
an
would-
extent,
Yeah,
you're
they'd be
right.
like, "Oh wait, so I can play
Yeah, they got
Fortnite?
Fortnite,
I can
yeah.
play Fortnite for recess? Hell yeah!"
They already do.
Yeah. Well, they play during class, I imagine.
All right, so Shoehorn agrees with Michael Brown. They should at least include the pen for students. Here's one from Six Lewis, who I think is a first-time commenter. Welcome to the show.
What up, 6?
iPad Pro 9.7 is obsolete because this one supports the Apple Pencil. So what is the point of the Pro naming? Marketing?
That's a really good question. I think you're probably going to get more answers to this later this year. I don't know about the 9.7 Pro. That I feel like that is, to your point, that's like kind of irrelevant now. I think for the larger one, I think we're going to see things like the Face ID feature that was on the iPhone 10 last year get carried over to the higher end Pro, the Pro line this year. I think there's still the keyboard attachment, the keyboard cover that is still or accessory that is that's still part of the Pro. So there are some things, and I imagine they'll introduce new bells and whistles for the Pro line to keep it elevated
Pro.
above this iPad.
Right, but to that point, the iPad Mini 4, I think, is more expensive and has less features
Yeah.
now. So that is probably going to die off. or
I'm
it's
surprised.
Probably not a good
I'm
idea to
surprised
buy
it's
that.
still there. I think it's just they're probably burning off inventory at this point.
Yeah.
It's that, and probably it's cheap to make. Like the margins on that must be great. If
Why
it's
would
more
they keep it more
expensive,
expensive, though?
but it's more expensive, and if people are buying it, I guess, then that's a huge windfall for
Yeah.
Apple.
Oh, by the way, it's a $99 pencil, but it's $89 for schools.
Oh.
So I don't think
Oh,
we
there you
mentioned
go.
that
Discount.
before.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
the discount.
That's a whole day's lunch right there. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take one from Romy Panda. Wants us to expand on the augmented reality. We
Yeah.
saw some actually decent demonstrations
Well,
of
the
how
frog,
augmented
the
reality
frog
can be
thing was
taught.
kind of cool.
Was
Used
that
as a teaching
augmented
tool.
reality,
No,
or
'cause
was
it's
that
on
an
the
app?
app. Yeah.
That was on the
That
app.
was like a very realistic or somewhat
And you used
realistic
the
looking
pencil
frog
for it.
dissection.
Right.
But they showed some of the crafting options and
Yeah.
talks about how that can be used to different diorama layouts and in a similar vein to
AR dioramas.
Yeah,
if
right.
I
Because everybody
never-
hated making
Oh my
dioramas.
God. Actually, that's kind of awesome. Yeah,
It
to
is
Brian's
awesome, but
point,
dioramas
I don't
are
want to make
awesome.
an actual
I
physical
hated
diorama.
It's like
making
my
dioramas.
science
I like
fair
making
project with the
dioramas.
3 sided cardboard, but it's just 3 iPads now.
I did want to point out one comment from Mike Shaw. He says, dissecting a frog without the smell of formaldehyde is just wrong. And you know what? I'm going to give him that one.
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
still remember that.
I
from
was-
science
I did not
class.
enjoy the frog dissection. I have
We
to say.
dissected a lot of things. There was a crayfish, frog, there was-
Worm.
Yeah, the worm. That's what
worm
you
was
started
the-
off on.
Somehow the worst.
Yeah,
I
that-
remember.
Why is
No,
it the
no.
worst?
Because it was just mush.
So
Yeah.
I
Wasn't really a
other
thing.
than worms, I never dissected like a live, like not live, sorry, just like any animal. We did owl pellets instead.
Oh yeah, we
Where,
did.
like,
We did
that's
owl
just-
pellets
Yeah,
too.
it's
No, we
just
did owl
bird
pellets.
shit.
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
great,
It is. It is.
dude. Really?
Oh, we're deep in the show. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to report us. Also, it's the internet. Let's talk to Matthew Datcher one more time. Do the schools get iCloud services for free? I believe they included
Yes.
certain
So-
percentage of storage.
Yes. So the storage is higher. It's 200 gigs instead of 5 gigs. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They bumped it up from
They
5
bumped
gigs.
it. So
to-
that's pretty good.
That'll hold a
That's-
decent amount of
yeah.
papers. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to be storing presentations and and
Not just paper,
multimedia
but
on
really,
there,
yeah.
but
Well, no, that's the thing. You can store photos, I guess.
you can, but not so much like the
Some video.
videos.
You can do small.
If you
Small.
have
videos.
500 gigs of homework assignments, I'm sorry, you're probably the most overworked student.
But now, wait. Is that
No,
per
no.
student? Is that per student?
Well, that's per student.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
per iPad.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well,
Yeah.
no, but per
I thought that was like per
account?
classroom, which like
Because
that
remember
would-
the
per
iPad.
school.
Remember the whole deal with this iPad with these teacher programs, or you could have like whatever multiple settings.
So would it be like
15
500
profiles.
gigs for the teacher then?
No, I assumed it was 500 gigs per account.
That makes a lot more sense because it's
Right.
iCloud, like, and that's
Yeah,
a text
yeah, yeah.
Wait,
account.
was it 500 or 200? Do we know?
Oh, 200.
Up,
It's 200.
It's
200,
up from
sorry.
5.
Yeah.
and now
5
it's up
to 200.
200.
Sorry, but I believe it's. I think it's per profile. I hope it's per profile because that would be crappy.
All
if
right,
it was
kids,
like
we all have
the
the
entire
same hard
classroom.
drive now.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Facebook. Michael Brown says, "Does this make trusting Facebook easier? Does anyone even care about the scandal? Are people even leaving Facebook?" Now, I think we've
those are-
seen some
I think it's
people
good
moving
So
questions.
those are
Facebook.
good questions. I think they're
But-
very different answers for all three of them.
Well, I wonder if this was a different platform, if this was a less ubiquitous
I think-
utopian social network, if people were like, "Oh, you screwed up," like a Snapchat, like, "Screw it, I'm not invested." Facebook's got a track record.
Yeah.
I think the trust question is a bit subjective. I feel like it depends on how much information you're comfortable with giving up to it. Like in the sense of, oh, who cares if Facebook knows like my birthday? I want people to know my birthday. But also, like that's why I mean, like it's different for like every person. I don't think the settings really do because I still have a major complaint that like this literally only affects people that have the app on it in the first place.
Right.
And it's not like a major shift so much as it is we made it easier for you to find your privacy settings, which like
And they
really
weren't that much easier.
yeah,
actually.
which really shouldn't have been that hard to find in the first place.
They have a ways to go. And
Like-
the privacy settings is probably only a very early first step. The problem is that it's been proven that Facebook is too easily gamed.
Yeah.
By, Russian trolls, Cambridge Analytica, all the, like ads, all
Yep.
that stuff.
It is
and
kind of
they
the-
have a lot of work to do to just clean up all that garbage.
It is kind of the perfect storm for Facebook right now between the security problems and the fact that it's completely overridden by trolls. It's just this
Yeah.
like poisonous cesspool that
Right, but we knew
can't
that-
get out of.
But we
Right.
knew that to be the case with Twitter from the get-go, and now I guess people are just waking up to the fact that Facebook is probably just as bad.
Well, I think to
It's,
Brian's.
it's not the
but
social
to-
networks.
To,
it's us.
to Brian's
us.
original point, though, I think with Twitter, I think it's a lot more easy to give. It's easier to give that up, right? Twitter it's like only a certain segment of people, of humans, really use Twitter in a relevant way, right? So I feel like it's a lot easier with Facebook. It, as you said, so much more ubiquitous. Everyone's on it. It's for a lot of people their primary way of keeping in touch with family and friends who they
and
may
they
not
have
talk
more
with.
of your info.
Yeah.
And they have more of your information. It's harder. So as much as like this delete Facebook movement is going on, and there are a number of high-profile companies and celebrities that have dropped off of Facebook, I think for most people, they're not going to care as much.
Now,
They're-
these are celebrities who have like their own fan pages and are like, screw it, I'm not going to engage with it. What about
Well,
private accounts? And there are plenty of them that
that's
have
the thing.
secret private accounts.
I don't know if I don't know.
Are
if
they
they're
still utilizing
I don't know if
those?
they're dropping those.
Well,
Well, I
see,
know
that is Facebook is a more of a communication tool, not a social network.
Right. Well, look, you look at Elon Musk is a great example because he deleted SpaceX and Tesla's Facebook pages, but I believe Elon Musk's own page is still up.
No, he doesn't know if that's his though.
Oh, really?
That, like
He's
I looked
also
it
on
up.
It's like
Insta.
it is.
I looked
thought
it up,
was
and there's like
confirmed.
a lot of like. No, he said the Tesla one was confirmed, but on the
okay.
right, the one
Okay.
on the right looks like a phony. That's
Ah.
because I looked it up. There's a lot of like fake Elon Musk page accounts there.
Oh, okay. All right. So maybe not.
And yeah, so on this whole like idea like that you were talking about, you don't think that like normal people are going to delete Facebook because
Yeah.
it's so like ingrained in like their everyday lives. The Washington Post has a really great column about it, essentially talking about you don't have to delete Facebook because there's so many aspects of it, but you should change how you use it and how you
Yeah,
interact
that's
with it.
true.
Like the number one step is like deleting the app. I still use Facebook, and like if I want to go on it from my phone, I'll go like Facebook.
Wait, so the Washington Post suggests you delete the mobile app?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the idea being that, you're
So you
much
just
less inclined to
acc-
check in on it. You don't get all the notifications like
Yeah.
every second,
Yeah,
like all
yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff. So if I want to go on Facebook now, it's like a 3-step thing now where like I have to go to open up like Safari, then go to facebook.com and then log in and
Yeah,
all this
yeah.
stuff. And it just like makes me much less inclined to check on it like all the time.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Let's come back full circle one more time before we do wrap it up for the day, because we are just about out of time. One question that kind of came in here at the 11th hour from Lalit that I thought was interesting. Now, we saw Apple presenting these iPads for use in an elementary classroom type situation, right? And that is a unique situation as compared to higher education. Lalit says, even for students, $299 plus 50 plus 50 equals $400 for a textbook in essence, plus tools,
Oh, yeah.
School supplies aren't cheap, and that's one of the things that
true.
a lot of teachers are suffering with these days. What about iPads in higher education as a regulated thing? Because buying textbooks in college sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was the whole point of their education event back in 2012, was they were trying to make it easier for, I think, textbooks to be converted into digital format to be used on an iPad.
I would have loved to not have to carry around textbooks in college.
I don't know if that's still, is that,
I did that when I was in college, where I downloaded PDFs of my textbooks.
But you had to do the initiative and on your own private.
Yeah, that wasn't like a program that everyone accessed. Like you went through extra hoops to
That's
do that.
the thing, though. Like, they did offer textbooks and stuff, but they were still
Were they
just
pretty
as expensive as the physical textbooks. Like, why would?
Well, that's asinine.
Yeah.
Well,
but
not
I
only
don't
that,
think-
but you can't sell them back.
that too. So it was just like, why would anybody want to do this? And I think it's more of a call on the college textbook industry.
Yeah.
For
The
not
way
making their prices cheaper
mean,
than it is on Apple or Google, these tech companies that are trying to make it easier for you to access textbooks. It's it's still just as expensive, and there's
so why would you even do it?
Yeah.
I'm saying that program needs to be refined. Selling back textbooks is hardly lucrative. You buy it for $300, you get $10 back.
No, but the point of that was, at least with the physical textbook, you could sell it. If you just bought a digital one, there's no way to sell that
Yeah.
back.
But I'd much rather spend $30 to $50 on a rented textbook that I could keep around maybe later on.
That's
it's
a
not
good
like it's
idea.
occupying
Right.
much space.
If you just rent it as a physical
There
or
are
digital.
there are digital book rental opportunities now. A lot of libraries do that when you
Yeah, but I
come
just
into
don't
the
know
tablet.
that. I don't know if textbooks fall under that category.
They should.
They should.
Yeah,
I just don't know if they
textbook
they do.
rentals were also a massive ripoff, though. One, again, because you couldn't sell it, and by the time you were done with it by the semester, you could have paid for the actual textbook itself.
That's very true. That is very true.
So
I
really,
just thought it
there's
was
something
worth-
wrong with the textbook industry.
Yes.
Yeah. There's an broken black market.
Yeah,
that
I
we're
never-
gonna
Or we
take
should be
down.
writing textbooks. Apparently, we got to get in on this. It's the whole lucrative market.
I
to
never-
exploit
do
kids.
how to.
I
do
never
a
bought them. I really
podcast.
I would borrow them from my friends, or I would go to the library and borrow it.
I knew
or-
friends that would photocopy them.
Yeah.
Really? How do you
yeah, that'll
photocopy
work.
400 pages?
Just photocopy the pages
On the
that
allowance
need.
you had for school printers.
It'd be like if your professor was saying you need to read this page through this page this
You
week,
go to the bookstore, find those specific pages, and print them out.
or have a friend who has a textbook and ask them to scan it and send it to you.
yeah.
That sounds
Wow.
like a colossal
Yeah,
pain.
but that
in the
sounds like a
ass.
real pain for your friend who's got to scan
You could give 'em
10
a
But it's
pages.
not a
year
pain
for
for
their
your
trouble.
wallet.
That's true. That's true.
Just putting that out there.
Man, I remember I bought textbooks and then sold them back, and yeah, you'd always lose money, obviously, but
Yeah.
it wasn't as big of a financial hit as just buying a book outright.
Oh, I had this jackass of a teacher that taught business administration. I hate the guy. I'm not going to name him here because I think he's dead. But
Wow, we got dark so quick.
this jerk wrote his own textbook every year. And by wrote, I mean he would photocopy copywritten materials into an assembled book that you would then have to purchase.
No.
That
Yeah.
you
Oh,
couldn't
a lot
sell
of professors
back
do
because
that.
it
What?
outdated because he refreshed it every single semester
Yeah.
with
Oh,
another
yeah.
Oh,
friggin'
that's
jerk.
kind of
Yeah.
slimy.
and
but
he would put crappy handwritten notes in it, so he still called it his own, but you still got this complete crap. I wish I could
Was
swear.
it in a
I wanna swear
binder?
so
Was
bad.
it in a binder with the
No, he
three-hole
actually got
punch
it.
and stuff?
No, he got it legit printed. I'll give
okay,
him that
'cause-
much.
Wait, so he took other people's material and put it in that book?
yeah, he's like, these are essential
Yeah,
reads.
you
This is my
anthologize it or
Cliff Notes
something.
version of it.
Oh my gosh.
And then you'd have to buy that he would
and he'd
pocket.
update it every
The
year.
business
Every
administration was
semester.
actually
Oh
his
my
own.
gosh.
I've
Yeah.
got to become a professor. Jeez. This is
I'll give him
Highly
And
this.
you got
lucrative.
between tenure and pushing your books onto students.
That's evil genius at its best.
Wow, that's rough.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my story about textbooks and why I think digital textbooks are a good way to go. Because
They
if he's going
are.
to try
They
to pull
just
that,
would
No,
make
they're
them
good.
cheaper.
Yeah, they're good if they're cheaper. That's the problem right now.
yeah.
Bunch of jerks.
Any last questions before we? Wow.
Very
got
angry.
really
We got
aggressive.
this podcast got punchy. Yeah, just really. All right. Any,
I'm
any
mad
last
about
questions before we
No,
take off?
I think we're just about out of time. But thanks everybody. That was really fun today. Good discussion
good
and
stuff.
Very good discussion.
about a mediocre product.
Right.
Well, I don't know if it's mediocre. It's just over. You're talking about the iPad?
Yeah.
It's not mediocre. It's just
Could have easily been talking about other things that we were discussing.
really.
Facebook.
I know. Like, which mediocre product are you referring to? Anyways, all right. If you liked anything you saw or heard here, check us out on CNET. Our podcast is available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, FeedBurner, Google Play Music, and the Amazon Echo. That's it. No, it's not it for the week. It's still Wednesday.
Yeah.
I thought it was Thursday already.
Wednesday, my
it's Wednesday.
dude.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Hang on
We'll
for
see
dear
you
life.
tomorrow.